Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on one pivotal figure, a man right at the heart of tradition, change, and global power flows, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's quite a story. We're talking about a leader who didn't just, rescue his country from financial ruin, but who actually, for this incredibly intense moment, looked a superpower in the eye and just said, no.
It's a dramatic one, all right. Our mission here is to unpack that whole journey. Tracing the roots of Saudi power back like 1,000 years.
Right. See how family drama nearly tanked the whole kingdom, and then, critically, how Faisal used oil, their biggest asset, as a weapon, a political weapon against the U.S.
And we've got some fascinating details from our sources, like the exact command, just 4 words, that Faisal gave that brought the U.S. economy, well, pretty much to its knees.
And the assassination story. It's genuinely bizarre. 10 years in the making, apparently. It really tells you something about the stakes involved.
Okay, so to really get King Faisal and modern Saudi Arabia, we need to go way back, like way before oil, before WWI, back to the early days of Islam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We need to talk about a specific tribe, the Banu Hanifa, and their leader back then, Musaylima al-Kazzab, known as the greatest liar.
Ah, yes. They fought against the early Muslim state, right? And lost badly. What happened to them?
They were crushed, utterly defeated at the Battle of Yamama. The sources suggest they were basically wiped off the historical map for like a millennium.
1,000 years. Wow.
They regrouped eventually, quietly, in Najd, the central part of Arabia, kind of isolated.
And then, fast forward 1,000 years, they're back on the scene, but still sort of marginal. The real power dynamic, the one that shapes modern Saudi Arabia, that starts with an alliance, about 200 years old now.
That's the one. It's this perfect mix, you could say. Political strength meets strict religious ideology. You got Mohammed bin Saud, the local leader with the muscle.
And Mohammed bin Abdul Wahab, the scholar, hugely influential. And he was reacting against what he saw as, well, incorrect practices in Islam at the time.
Deeply. He saw fragmentation, heresy. And there's a great little detail from the sources here about Mecca's Grand Mosque.
Oh yeah, the 4 imams from the different schools of law, Hanfi, Shafi, Maliki, Hanbali.
Right. All leading prayers at the same time in the same mosque, but refusing to pray behind each other. Total division.
Which Abdul Wahab hated. He wanted unity based on his, well, very strict interpretation.
Exactly. But the big power back then, the Ottoman Caliphate, they leaned towards Sufism, which is pretty much the opposite of Abdul Wahab's thinking.
So Abdul Wahab needed protection, a political force to back his ideas. And he found that in Mohammed bin Saud.
That's the alliance. That's what creates the first Saudi state. Okay, so jump forward again. Early 20th century, World War I. Big changes coming.
Driven by the British, mainly. Their goal, break up the Ottoman Empire.
And they needed Arab allies. They approached Sharif Hussein of Mecca. He was a big deal descendant of the Prophet, respected scholar.
And the British made him a huge promise, didn't they? If the Arabs revolt, help us beat the Ottomans, the caliphate comes back to your family.
The ultimate prize. And the Arabs did revolt. The Ottoman Empire fell apart. But then
the British changed their tune. They put condition on it. You can be Caliph Sharif Hussein if you agree to hand over Palestine to Jewish settlers.
And he just refused.
What?
Point blank. It wasn't just turning down the title. It was a matter of principle for him. Cost him everything politically.
So the British dropped him, pulled their support from this traditional scholarly leader.
Which created an opening, right? A power vacuum. And in stepped someone much more pragmatic, Abdulaziz, the man who would become the first king of Saudi Arabia.
The British saw him as someone focused on power, on territory, less worried about the moral complexities of Palestine.
Pretty much. So with British backing, Abdulaziz takes the Hijaz region, Mecca, Medina. That really consolidates the modern kingdom's territory.
He's got the land, he's got British support, but he needs money. Which brings us to the jackpot, oil.
Yep. 6 years after founding the kingdom, British scientists have been looking for ages, finding nothing.
Until apparently some local guy just pointed and said, try digging over there, and boom, the fields.
It's a great story. And the timing, just incredible. This massive discovery happens only 1 year before World War II starts.
Meaning global demand is about to go through the roof. And Saudi Arabia has tons of it. The economy just explodes, right? Grows by like 2,000 times.
Something staggering like that.
Yeah.
Almost overnight, Abdulaziz becomes incredibly wealthy.
But wealth isn't everything. Abdulaziz apparently had worries about his successor, his son Saud, wished his other son, Faisal, was next in line.
Yeah, the sources suggest he saw issues with Saud. And those fears, well, they turned out to be pretty accurate.
Okay, so King Saud takes the throne. And his reign is just legendary for spending. 4 wives. Okay, but over 100 concubines.
115 children, 24 private palaces. I mean, just think about the upkeep on 24 palaces.
It was a disaster for the economy. He was giving away millions to princes, ordering $1 billion worth of new palaces.
Just as global oil supply went up and prices started to fall, so the national debt tripled.
It's like the worst possible combination. Spending like crazy just when income dips. The country was actually heading towards bankruptcy, a first for them.
The royal family completely panicked. They went to Faisal, basically begging him to step in and save the situation.
But Faisal, he hesitated at first, didn't he? Because of an oath?
An oath of loyalty he'd sworn to his father, King Abdulaziz, about supporting Saud. So he couldn't just stage a coup. He agreed to come back, but only as prime minister, working under Saud.
Still, he had a job to do, fix the finances, and he moved fast.
Instantly, cut off all those luxury payments going to the princes and those lavish palaces.
Turned them into government offices. That must have sent a message.
Oh, absolutely, austerity. But maybe his boldest move socially was tackling slavery. It was still legal.
How did he handle that? It must have been deeply embedded.
He didn't just ban it. He used state money, paid every slave owner $2,000 per person to compensate them, essentially buying their freedom. Thousands were freed.
Wow, that takes serious political courage in that context. But the kingdom was still broke. Where did he get the money for all this? And to plug the gap, Saud left.
He had to take a massive loan from the richest guy in the kingdom at the time, Mohammed bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden's father.
The very same. And it's a striking detail, isn't it? Faisal is taking loans from Mohammed bin Laden while also funding Islamic schools where his son, Osama, is getting his education.
History is full of those strange connections. Okay, so Faisal stabilizes the economy, but now he wants to modernize the country. And that puts him on a collision course with
the ulema, the powerful religious establishment. They saw his reforms, many of them as dangerous innovations, even heresy.
What kind of reforms are we talking about?
Things like schools for girls, universities, and the big one, first Saudi TV channel, which even had a female news anchor.
Television itself was considered haram, forbidden by many of the hardliners.
Totally. And this tension spilled over into this slightly embarrassing international incident, the scientific schism.
Right, the professor who wrote that the Earth goes around the sun.
Standard science, yeah. But the Grand Mufti, Sheikh bin Baz, wrote his own official piece, insisting, no, the sun goes around a stationary Earth.
Which made Saudi Arabia a bit of a laughingstock globally, I imagine.
It really highlighted that internal battle Faisal was fighting between modernity and this very rigid tradition. And then things turned violent.
The TV station incident, a prince attacked it.
Yeah, one of the more conservative princes saw the TV station as corrupting, basically haram. He showed up, started firing shots at the police guarding it.
And the police fired back.
One officer did,
Yeah.
acting in self-defense, according to the reports. And the prince was killed.
Which created a huge problem. The prince's family demanded traditional justice, right? They wanted the police officer handed over for revenge.
Exactly, eye for an eye. But Faisal drew a line.
What did he do?
He refused. He said the law applies to everyone, princes included. He protected the officer. It was a massive statement about the rule of law over tribal tradition. But crucially, remember that dead prince. His death isn't forgotten.
It comes back later, big time.
But for a while, that internal stuff gets put on the back burner. Faisal turns his attention outward, towards Israel.
Yeah, the Arab states had lost the previous wars badly. Israel had tripled in size. Faisal was determined to change that narrative.
And then came the Al-Aqsa Mosque fire in 1969, started by some Christian extremist.
Who the Israeli courts then declared insane and let go. That caused outrage everywhere in the Muslim world.
Huge outrage. And Faisal capitalized on it. He brought Muslim leaders together, formed the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the OIC, positioning himself as the leader.
Setting the stage for confrontation, which came in 1973, the Yom Kippur War.
A surprise attack by Arab forces, initially successful. But then the U.S. stepped in, massively.
An emergency aid package for Israel, $2.2 billion, tanks, jets, weapons, the works.
That was the trigger for Faisal, the absolute final straw.
He gets the news, he's in his office, calls his oil minister. What happens next?
The minister points out, look, TV stations shut down at 9 p.m. If you want this to hit hard, you need to decide now.
And Faisal doesn't hesitate. He gives one single command.
Just 4 words. Stop all oil exports.
To the U.S.
To the U.S. Not a drop. Cut them off completely.
And the impact, I mean, the U.S. was importing something like 80% of its oil from Arab countries then.
Yeah, the dependence was huge. The effect was immediate. Catastrophic, really. 500,000 jobs lost almost overnight, rolling blackouts across the country, load shedding.
Those gas lines. Stations putting up signs like, "Forget gas, remember God." Even Christmas was dark that year because of energy-saving measures.
The U.S. government was furious. They started seriously discussing military options. Go in, seize the oil fields, maybe even take Faisal out.
But Faisal had a counter threat, didn't he? An absolutely defiant one.
He set word back. If you attack us, I will personally give the order to set fire to every single oil well in Saudi Arabia.
Destroy his own country's wealth.
His reasoning was stark. He apparently said something like, "We used to be poor, living on dates and camels. We can go back to that. We'll survive. You won't survive without our oil." He basically dared them.
And the U.S. blinked.
They backed down, started pushing Israel towards a deal. Faisal eventually lifted the embargo, and Saudi Arabia's economy, it just skyrocketed from $2 billion to $50 billion.
He was at the absolute height of his power, the king who made a superpower bend.
Right before he died, he gave this speech lamenting the lack of Garat honor, maybe righteous anger among Arab leaders about Palestine. And the sources say he prayed for shahadat, for martyrdom, if he couldn't liberate it.
A grim foreshadowing, because martyrdom is what he got.
Very soon after, he was holding a Maisley's, public audience, meeting people, and his nephew walks up.
Kingside's son, royalty, so nobody stops him, nobody searches him.
Exactly. He gets close, pulls out a gun, shoots Faisal twice.
And the official reason given, the motive.
Revenge for his brother, the prince who was killed 10 years earlier outside that TV station.
After 10 years, it seems.
Oh.
Neat, convenient.
Yeah.
Especially considering this nephew.
Had spent most of those 10 years living it up in the U.S., right? Drugs, clubs, whole playboy lifestyle, apparently. He only came back to Saudi Arabia very shortly before the assassination.
So you have to ask, don't you? The sources present the official story, but a decade-old family vendetta carried out by someone seemingly disconnected. Or was there more to it? Given who benefited immediately, the U.S., Israel, his death changed everything on the geopolitical map instantly.
Well, the official story held, Faisal's last words were reportedly forgiving his nephew. The new king, Khalid, had the assassin publicly beheaded, but the impact was undeniable.
Yeah, after Faisal's death, that defiant stance just evaporated. Arab states started looking for ways to make deals with Israel, not confront it.
And critically, no Saudi king since then has ever played the oil card against the U.S. like Faisal did. Ever again. That act of defiance was silenced permanently.
So when you look back at the whole story from that ancient tribal split, the alliance, the British betrayal, the oil boom, Saud's mess, Faisal's rescue.
His modernization, the clash with the ulema, using oil as a weapon, and then being killed in what's officially called a family revenge plot. It's extraordinary.
It really showed the world, didn't it? The sheer power the Gulf states, especially Saudi Arabia, held with that oil. But it also showed the incredible risks, the potentially fatal price of actually using that power against the West.
Absolutely. Faisal's brief use of the oil weapon changed how everyone saw Middle Eastern power. And his assassination served as a stark warning, perhaps.
So here's something to think about. Faisal's demand was actually pretty simple. If you keep arming Israel against us, you don't get our oil. Now, Saudi oil power, and OPEC's power in general, has only grown since 1975. So why hasn't any leader since Saudi or otherwise ever dared to make that same challenge again? What lesson was learned from the price Faisal paid for that one singular act of defiance?